January 26, 1943, Bismarck Sea, off the coast of WWII, New Guinea. The sea was calm that morning, broken only by a low swell rolling in from the northeast. The sky was pale and hazy, the kind of tropical light that flattened distance and made ships appear closer than they were. Beneath that surface, running at periscope depth, was the United States Navy submarine USS Wahoo, hull number SS-238. She was a Gatto-class submarine, 311 feet long, displacing just over 1,500 tons on the surface and nearly 2,500 submerged. Powered by 4 General Motors diesel engines and electric motors below the surface, Wahoo carried 10-21-inch torpedo tubes, 6 forward, 4 aft, and a deck gun mounted forward of the conning tower. Her torpedoes were Mark 14s, unreliable weapons earlier in the war, but by early 1943 many of their worst defects had been identified through hard experience. In command was Commander Dudley Mush Morton, a 39-year-old officer from Kentucky whose aggressive instincts set him apart in a submarine force that was still shaking off peacetime caution. His executive officer, Lieutenant Richard H. O'Kane, stood beside him in the conning tower, stopwatch in hand, eyes trained on the periscope optics. This was Wahoo's 3rd war patrol. The boat had already earned a reputation for boldness during her previous patrols in the Solomon Sea. Now she was operating along Japanese supply routes between Rabaul and New Guinea, waters crowded with troop transports, freighters, and coastal escorts feeding the Imperial Army's desperate effort to hold the northern coast. At 10:15 local time, the soundman reported fast screws bearing down from the northwest. Morton ordered the boat up to periscope depth. Through the lens, O'Kane identified the silhouettes almost immediately. Not warships, 4 Japanese merchant vessels, steaming in loose column, hugging the coast. They were unescorted, no destroyers, no patrol craft in sight. The largest was estimated at 5,000 tons, the smallest perhaps 1,500. All were heavily laden, riding low in the water. The range closed quickly. Morton did not hesitate. He had drilled his crew relentlessly on rapid-fire attacks, believing that speed and shock could compensate for the submarine's fragility once detected. The plan was simple and dangerous. Penetrate the formation, fire at close range, then maneuver violently to escape. Stand by forward tubes, Morton said. The submarine crept ahead on electric motors, silent except for the hum of machinery and the whispered range calls. The tropical heat inside the boat was stifling. Sweat ran down faces and pooled on the deck plates. Every man knew what was coming. At 10:28 a.m., Morton gave the order. The first torpedo left the tube with a sharp metallic thud, followed by a second and a third in quick succession. Each weapon ran straight and shallow, their wakes briefly visible through the periscope before disappearing into glare. The first explosion came less than 40 seconds later. A column of black smoke and flame erupted amidships on the lead freighter. Almost immediately, a second detonation followed on the next ship in line. Men could be seen running on decks, some already jumping overboard. Morton swung the periscope hard to port. Tube 4, fire. Another torpedo was on its way. Within 3 minutes, 2 ships were dead in the water, burning fiercely. The third took its hit moments later, the blast tearing open her engine room. Steam vented violently, and she began to settle by the stern. The fourth ship attempted to scatter, turning hard toward the coast, but Wahoo was already repositioning. Morton ordered a depth change and a rapid turn to bring the stern tubes to bear. The maneuver was executed in near silence, the crew moving with drilled precision. At 10:44 a.m., the aft torpedo fired. It struck just below the waterline. The freighter staggered, then stopped, smoke pouring from her hatches. In less than 30 minutes, 4 enemy ships had been hit in succession. 3 were already sinking. The 4th was crippled beyond recovery. But the attack was far from over. Japanese shore batteries had seen the explosions. Aircraft could arrive at any moment. Morton ordered Wahoo deep. As the boat slipped beneath the surface, the sound room began to fill with the chaotic noise of breaking metal escaping steam, and the distant shouts of men in the water. No escorts appeared. No depth charges followed. For the moment, Wahoo had vanished. Below 200 feet, Morton allowed himself a brief breath. Then he turned to O'Kane. "Start the clock," he said quietly. "Let's see what we've really done." January 26, 1943. Bismarck Sea, off Wewak, New Guinea continued. At 240 feet, USS Wahoo leveled off. The boat creaked as pressure settled along the hull. The air inside was thick with diesel fumes, sweat, and silence. Every man listened. The sound room reported confusion above. No organized search pattern. No destroyers, just the dying noise of merchant ships breaking apart. Morton stayed deep for 20 minutes. Then slowly, cautiously, he brought Wahoo back to periscope depth. The scene above was devastation. 3 ships were visibly sinking. One had already rolled to port, her propellers briefly exposed before disappearing beneath the surface. Another was aflame from bow to stern, smoke drifting inland toward the jungle. Survivors clustered in the water and on rafts, clinging to debris. The 4th ship sat dead in the water, her decks deserted. Morton made a decision that reflected both the brutality and discipline of submarine warfare. He would finish the crippled ship to ensure it did not reach port, but he would not waste torpedoes. Surfaced the boat. At 11:12 a.m., USS Wahoo broke the surface less than 3,000 yards from the wreckage. The deck gun crew ran forward, stripping covers and swinging the 4-inch gun toward the target. The gun fired methodically. Each shell punched through thin merchant hull plating. After 12 rounds, the ship began to settle. The gun crew ceased fire and secured the weapon. Morton ordered the boat submerged again. In 38 minutes, USS Wahoo had destroyed 4 Japanese merchant vessels, totaling approximately 15,000 tons, without a single counterattack. But Morton knew the danger was not over. Aircraft would come. Reports would spread. The enemy would adapt. He turned Wahoo south and ordered silent running. Strategic context. By early 1943, Japan's war effort in the Southwest Pacific was collapsing under logistic strain. Allied air power dominated daylight. Submarines like Wahoo were tasked with strangling supply lines, feeding isolated garrisons in New Guinea and the Solomons. Merchant ships were no longer expendable assets. Each loss meant fewer troops supplied, fewer artillery shells delivered, fewer wounded evacuated. Morton understood this. He also understood that hesitation was deadly. January 28, 1943, near La, New Guinea. 2 days later, Wahoo encountered another convoy. This time there were escorts. Morton attacked anyway. The torpedoes ran true. One transport exploded violently, likely carrying ammunition. A second was damaged. Japanese escorts responded aggressively, dropping depth charges in tight patterns. For 14 hours, Wahoo endured the attack. Depth charges detonated close enough to crack light bulbs, bend metal fittings, and flood compartments. The hull groaned. Men braced themselves against bulkheads. The boat reached depths over 400 feet beyond tested limits. Morton refused to panic. He maneuvered patiently, using thermal layers and bottom contours. By nightfall, the escorts lost contact. Wahoo survived, returned to Pearl Harbor. USS Wahoo returned to Pearl Harbor in February 1943. Her patrol report stunned the submarine force. Morton was awarded the Navy Cross. O'Kane received the Silver Star. But perhaps more important than medals was reputation. Mush Morton became a symbol of a new kind of submarine warfare. Aggressive, calculated, relentless. Other skippers took note. September 1943, Sea of Japan. By her 7th War Patrol, USS Wahoo was operating in one of the most dangerous theaters of the Pacific War. The Sea of Japan was shallow, mined, heavily patrolled, and considered nearly impassable for American submarines. Morton went anyway. The mission was bold: penetrate enemy-controlled waters through narrow straits and attack shipping off the Japanese home islands. For weeks, Wahoo hunted successfully, sinking several ships. But each attack increased risk. On October 11th, 1943, Wahoo attacked a convoy near the La Parao Strait. Japanese escorts counterattacked with precision. Mines, aircraft, and depth charges filled the area. That night, Wahoo attempted to withdraw south. She was never seen again. Post-war analysis indicates USS Wahoo was likely sunk by Japanese aircraft near Soya Strait, either by bombs or depth charges. All 80 men aboard were lost. Outcome and legacy. USS Wahoo completed 7 war patrols, sinking over 20 enemy ships totaling more than 60,000 tons. Her January 26, 1943 attack remains one of the most efficient submarine actions of World War II. 4 ships destroyed in under 30 minutes, achieved through discipline, precision, and decisive command. Commander Dudley Mush, Morton's aggressive doctrine reshaped U.S. submarine warfare. His executive officer, Richard O. Kane, would later command USS Tang, becoming the most successful American submarine skipper of the war. The men of Wahoo never returned, but their impact endured. Their war was silent, their victories unseen, their sacrifice absolute. They are remembered not for how they died, but for how they fought. Sources used: Blair Clay, Silent Victory, The U.S. Submarine War Against Japan. Roscoe, Theodore, United States Submarine Operations in World War II. O'Kane, Richard H., Clear the Bridge. USS Wahoo, SS 238, Patrol Reports, U.S. Navy. Naval History and Heritage Command Archives. Morrison, Samuel Elliott. History of United States Naval Operations in World War II.